This is a video on how to add the cams, the handles, and the followers to our cam box. So as you can see, this box is fully assembled. It's got a top and a bottom. It's got the sides. It's got the holes in there. It's got the screws that we downloaded from Content Center and installed. So now we're going to put all the other pieces together so we can make it animated and make it move. So let's put the dowel that goes through these two holes in our sides. So we're going to go to place. We want the one called crank dowel. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to place it in there. Then I'm going to hit escape. On escape, it's just going to keep adding more of them in there. So now I have to get this dowel to go in this hole. So I'm going to go to constrain. I'm going to use my insert constraint. And remember, with the insert constraint, all we're doing is matching up circles. So we'll click on the circle for the hole, the circle for the end of the rod. And you see it didn't go in there like I wanted it to. That's no big deal. There's a little button here. It says align. You can just flip it from one side to the other. Now, if you look at it straight on, you notice how the dowel sticks out on one side and not the other one. What I want is the dowel to stick out on both sides. So I do that with offset. So if I type in 0.25, it moved it that way. If it didn't work, then you just change this to negative 0.25. So it's one of those two. It's either 0.25 or negative. I'm going to apply that constraint. Now I want to put the handle on. So I'm going to go to place. There's my handle, crank handle. I'm going to open it up. And again, I just need one of them. So I'm going to put one of them in there, hit escape. Use my constraint. I'm going to use the insert constraint. And I'm going to click on this circle. I'm going to match it up with that circle. I'm going to look at it a little bit closer, and it didn't do what I wanted it to do. So it should be flush on the outside. So again, I'm going to click this align button, and you see where it kind of flushes it out there. I'm going to apply that one. Now there's a dowel that goes inside the handle to make it easier to turn. So I'm going to go place. And this one says crank handle dowel. So I'm going to open it up. I'll place it in my assembly and hit escape. I'm going to insert this into that hole. So I'm going to constrain. Going to insert. Again, all I'm doing is matching up circles. So I'm going to match that circle up, not to this outside circle, but to the inside circle. So the bottom of the hole there. So I'll click that one. And again, it went in backwards, so there's no big deal. You just use this tool to flip it to apply. There's also a little ring that goes on this side, and that locks everything in place so that when we're actually using the toy, this won't move to the right or the left. It'll stay where it needs to be. So I'm going to place that in. So place. And it's this follower ring. So I'm going to hit open. Click there, hit escape. Constrain it. Again, I'm going to use the insert constraint. All I'm doing is matching up circles. So I want that circle and that circle to match up. Again, it didn't do quite right, so I'm just going to flip it, apply that one. So that will lock this on so that when we're actually using the toy, it wouldn't fall off or wouldn't come out. So stay in place. So now if I take my mouse and I click and hold on this handle, I can turn it. But if you look really close, the dowel is not turning with the handle. So we have to lock these two together with some angle constraints. To do that, we have to turn on a lot of planes. So I'm going to click on this, double click on this dowel. So double click on it, opens the dowel up. You notice everything else kind of gets grayed out. That means that I'm working on this part inside of assembly. In my browser bar, it highlights what I'm working on in white. So this is the part that I'm working on there. What I need to do is open up this origin and look for a plane that I could turn on that would help me. This YZ plane, I'm going to right click on it, click visibility. It turns this plane on. And then I'm going to return back to assembly. When I return back to assembly, everything goes back to full color. Nothing's grayed out anymore. I need to do the same thing with the handle. So I'm going to double click on the handle. I'm going to go to my browser bar. I'm going to origin. And I'm looking for a plane that I could turn on It's going to help me constrain them together. So that XZ plane looks perfect. So I'm going to right click on it, turn on the visibility. Before I leave this, I need a mid plane for these handles and my cams and everything. So I'm going to click on the plane tool. I'm going to click on the right side of the plane, the cam or the handle, and the left side of the handle. And that puts a plane dead center. So now I'm ready to return back. So I'm going to return back to assembly. And what I need to do is lock these two together so they'll turn together. So I'm going to use the constraint tool. This time I'm going to use the angle constraint. This one's the angle constraint. You have three choices here. The middle one's the one that always works the best for me. So click the middle button. And what I want to do is click on this plane that we turned down on the dowel. And when I click this plane that we turned down on the handle. And I'm going to apply that. Close it. Now when I turn the handle, you'll notice that the dowel is turning also. They're turning together. Now my ring on the other side, it's not turning. So I need to do the same thing for it. So double click on it. Open up Origin. Turn on the YZ plane. Return back. Now I'm going to constraint. I'm going to use the angle constraint. And we'll click on this middle button. And I'm going to constrain this plane to the plane of the dowel. I'm going to apply that. And now when I turn the handle, you can see they both turn together. That's what we want. So now we're ready to put in our cams. So again, I'm going to place. These are all my parts. I've got several options here. I've got an egg-shaped cam. I've got a hex cam, a offset circle cam, a snail cam. Let's put in the egg-shaped cam to start with. I'm going to hit escape. I need to constrain this cam to this dowel. So I'm going to constrain. And instead of using insert, I'm just going to use the make constraint. So what I'm going to do to make that work is I'm going to zoom in really close on the dowel. I'm going to find this red line. That's the center axis. I'm going to click on it. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the cam. I'm going to zoom in really, really close. And I'm going to find the center axis for this hole. And I'm going to click on it. And what that does is I'm going to apply it. What it does is it puts the center, lines up those two center axes. But if you notice that when I turn the handle, that cam is not moving. It's not turning at all. So I have to do the same thing for this cam that I did for the handle. So I'm going to double click on the cam. I'm going to open up the Origin. And I'm going to turn on the YZ plane. And also while I'm here, I need to turn on the mid plane. So I'm going to click on the plane tool. I'm going to click on the right side of the cam. Then the left side of the cam. And now I'm ready to return back to assembly. I'm going to go to constraint. I'm going to go to my angle constraint. Then click on the middle one. And I want to lock this YZ plane to the plane of the dowel. I want to apply that. And now I'm ready to close it. And now when I turn the handle, they turn together. And that's what we're after. So let's place in another cam. So let's place in. We've got lots of options here. Let's see. Let's try the snail cam. I'm going to open it up. I'll place it in again, hit escape. I only want to put in one. I need to constrain it to the dowel just like I did before. So I'm just going to use the make constraint. I'm going to zoom in really close and hover till I find this red center line. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to hover in really close and find the red center line there. And I'm going to apply it. And I'm going to close this. And again, when I turn the handle, only the one cam operates. The other one doesn't turn. So I double click on the snail cam. Again, it's highlighted in white. Open up the Origin. And I'm going to turn on the YZ plane. And then also while I'm here, I'm going to turn on the mid plane or make a mid plane. So I'm going to click plane. And then we'll click on the right side of the snail cam and the left side of the snail cam. And again, it made a plane dead center. So I'm going to hit return. Now I'll go to constraint and I'll do my angle constraint. Again, click on the middle one. And I'm going to lock this YZ plane to that plane and hit apply. Now when I turn the handle, those cams should turn with it. So now we're ready to add the followers. So I'm going to go to place. Again, here's all my parts. I'm looking for my follower dowel. Open it up. I'm going to place those in my assembly. Then I'm going to hit escape. And I want the rounded end pointed down. So if yours is it and you just click it, you can do a free rotate and you can spin it around to where the rounded side is pointing down. So what I'm going to do is constrain these to these holes. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to constrain it. I'm going to use the mate constraint instead of insert. I'm going to use the mate. So I'm going to find the center line here. Zoom in really, really close. Hover this hole until we find the center line. Apply that one. We'll do the same for this follower. Find the center line. Find the center line there, and I'll apply that. If I would have used insert, it would lock these in place. They wouldn't be able to go up and down. But using the mate, they can go up and down. So now again, if I turn the handle, the cam is moved, but not the followers. So we've got to work on that. First thing I'm going to do is line this stuff up. I'm going to make this follower perfectly in line with this cam. So to do that, I'm going to use constraint. I'm going to use this mate constraint. And what I want to do is find this center line, just like we've been doing for the follower. And then I want to click on this plane, this mid plane that we turned on earlier. I'm going to apply that. I'm going to do the same for this one. So I'm going to click on the center line for this follower. And then the mid plane for this cam. And I'm going to apply that. And now again, if I turn the handle, you'll notice that the followers still are not moving. But if you look at it straight on, everything is perfectly in line though. So that's one step. So to constrain these together so that they move together, that's another kind of constraint. So we're going to constraint, and this is a transitional constraint. And what I always want to do is click on the follower first. You'll notice how these are filleted at the bottom. It seems to work better if these are rounded at the bottom. So I'm going to click on the follower first and then the face of the cam. And I'm going to apply that. Close this down. And then I'm going to turn the handle. And you can see how the follower is following the cam. So now I'll do the same thing with the snail cam. The snail cam is tricky. One thing you need to do is make sure this is filleted. That seems to help. But a lot of times the snail cam, the follower will crash. It will just fall to the center. And I just keep redoing it till it works most of the time. So I'm going to constrain it. Again, it's transitional. Always click on the follower first. And then I'm going to click on the face of the cam. So I'm going to come in here and click on the face of the cam. I'm going to apply that one. I'm going to close it. And now I'm going to turn it around. And I'm going to turn this handle. And hopefully the followers will follow the cam. And they're working. So that's great. One more thing we can do is we can animate this so that we can actually let it drive itself so we can just watch it. What we need to do for that is make a plane that we can drive, that we can make it rotate. So to do that, I need to kind of make two planes kind of work together. So what I'm going to do is double click on this wood block, part of our box. I'm going to click on the plane tool. I'm going to click on the left side of the box and the right side of the box. And what I'm doing again is making a center plane. Return. And what I'm going to do is make another constraint. So I'm going to constrain. And I'm going to use an angle constraint. Again, using this middle one. What I'm going to do is constrain the plane we just turned on to this plane of the handle or the dowel. So I'm going to use the dowel one. I'm going to apply that. So now if I click on my dowel there, it will highlight in my assembly. So there's my dowel. This last constraint, I'm going to rename it. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to say this is my drive constraint. I'm going to right click my mouse. I'm going to click on the word drive. A box comes up and it lets me change like the degrees. How much do I want it to move? So I'm going to put 720 degrees. And then I'm going to take this. I'm going to move it so you can see it. I'm going to hit play. All right. And then what I want to do is here I'm going to make it negative 720 because my cams are going backwards and my snail cam is going to crash. So, and now you can watch it animate. And that's it. Thank you.